بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to resume our study of Mafatih al-Hayat by Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli Hafadahullah. As you remember, in the last 3 sessions we talked about environment, and inshallah we want to continue that. In this chapter he talks about water, air and soil, fertile soil. So these 3 important aspects of environment are very highly regarded in Islamic literature, and we have many teachings about water, about air and about soil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before creation of human beings on the earth, he prepared everything for our comfortable life, not only for our survival but also to have comfortable life. And if we act according to his instructions, then we would really enjoy our life even in this world. And if we don't act according to his advice, we would suffer in this world and the hereafter. So let's see some of the teachings of Islam about these 3. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam counts water as one of the basic rights of human beings. In a hadith, he mentions house as a basic right. So every person has a right for housing. Then proper dress and clothes. Then food, and finally water. Of course, as we have said many times, this doesn't mean that we don't have any other things when we mention 3 or 4 or 5, but these are for that particular context or audience highlighted. So these are certainly included, no one can deny them, but maybe if we can learn from other sources, other things, for example, right for education, etc. But one of the basic rights of human beings is right for water. And Rasulullah, according to another hadith, in another hadith he said that Muslims share water. What does it mean? It means that if I have water, I cannot deny this water to other Muslims. Of course, it's in a Muslim community. If we live with other human beings, this is also applicable to them. So we should not have monopoly over water for ourselves and deny other members of our society or community from water. As you know, in the Battle of Siffin, when Muawiyah and his army first blocked water to the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Imam asked them and sent them a message, they didn't listen. Then Imam managed to free water, and then some people said, now we should deny them water, but Amir al-Mu'mineen said no. And he not only gave them water, the exact text is that he gave them access to water. It's not that we give you this many liters of water. He gave them access to water. This is during war, and this is with someone who already deprived them water. So for us, denial of water is very major problem, very major sin and act of disobedience. Even we cannot deny water to animals. We cannot deny water to plants and trees. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, in a famous hadith that we mentioned also before, he says, لا تطيب السكنى إلا بالثلاث. Life cannot be pleasant without three things. One of them is الهواء الطيب, nice air, fresh, clean air. Another thing is الماء الغزير, abundant water. And another thing is fertile land. We have to appreciate water. We have to appreciate any small piece of soil. You know how many hundreds of years it takes so that we have 1 inch of soil. It's not easy to have this soil. Maybe, we see and we think it's not important. We, take them for granted. But to produce one, for example, cubic inch of soil takes hundreds of years. When from the, for example, mountains, rain has to come and, wash them, and, these rocks, should hit each other and produce dust, and dust becomes, for example, soil, or for example, when water little by little can take something from these stones. So it takes lots of years, hundreds of years, as some people say. So we have to be very careful about these great blessings of Allah, that because are easily manageable and available, we unfortunately most of the time underestimate, unless we lose them. When we live in a city, for example, large city, that the air is polluted, then we realize what does it mean to have fresh air. When we don't have access to clean water, or we have to, for example, buy, very expensive, bottles of water, then we realize how important is water. So before we get to that point, we should appreciate and be grateful and try to use them properly. There is another hadith that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, ثلاثة أشياء يحتاج الناس طرا إليها. There are three things that all of people need them. طرا. All people need them. Three things that all people need them. Al-amn, security. Islam gives lots of attention to security. Physical security, but also psychological security. Sometimes your body is safe, but your mind is under attack. Your heart is under attack. Your aqidah is under attack. Your identity is under attack. Your mental health is under attack. Security is very comprehensive in Islam. Number 2, wal-adl. All people need justice. Number 3, wal-khisb. To have fertile land and fertile environment. It's a matter of air, it's a matter of water, a matter of soil. So this comes next to justice and security. If we don't have fertile environment, there would be poverty, there would be wars, there would be injustice. Some people try to manipulate, some try to exploit. So all problems can happen. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli has a book on environment, an independent book on environment, and he has discussed in more details, some of these issues, especially what he refers to twice here is about the need for planning and managing environment and natural resources. It's not just enough to, appreciate them. It's not just enough to be careful about them. We need to plan. We need to manage natural resources. One of the things, for example, he mentions is about how to manage and control water. We should not let water be wasted. We have to make sure that we optimally use water, and also we preserve water, and we keep our water supplies under ground or overground, all of them safe and intact. There are lots of issues, nowadays in some countries, because they have too much used and consumed water, and even they have been digging too much underground, and they have extracted all waters. Then maybe for hundreds of years they are going to suffer. He refers to this ayah in Surah Mu'minun verse 18. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وأنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر فأسكناه في الأرض. We have sent down from the sky water بقدر, in a measured way. It's not that Allah sends any good without balance and without measure. إن من شيء إلا عندنا خزائنه وما ننزله إلا بقدر معلوم. One case is about rain, about water. This ayah says أنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر. So if we use water which comes properly, we have enough. But if we misuse water, and if we manipulate natural cycles of rain and evaporation, then we would have problem. أنزلنا من السماء ماء بقدر فأسكناه في الأرض. Then we made this water settle on the earth. It can be river, it can be sea, it can be ocean, it can go inside in underground sources. So he talks very much about reservation of water and preservation. Both reservation and preservation are very important. And he says Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very much emphasizing on Muslims' appreciation of water and avoiding any waste. Even for wuzu, even for ghusl, which are very important acts of worship, acts of purity. You make wuzu in order to gain ritual purity. You make ghusl. But Rasulullah said, even for these things we cannot waste water. For example, in a famous hadith that here it is quoted from Man la yahdhuruhu al-faqih, Sheikh al-Saduq, great scholar of the Shia, especially a great muhaddis, has quoted this from Rasulullah. Al-wudu'u muddun wal-ghuslu sa'un. Wuzu, just a matter of 1 mud of water, which is less than a kilo, maybe about 750 grams, something like that. For ghusl, whole body, sa, about 3 kilograms. وَسَيَأْتِي أَقْوَامٌ بَعْدِي يَسْتَقِلُّونَ ذَلِكَ. Rasulullah says, after me some people would come that they would say, this is qalil, this is too little. How can we make wuzu with 1 mud, with less than 1 kilogram, 1 liter? How can we make ghusl with 3 liters? فَأُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ خِلَافِ سُنَّتِي. those people who waste water, may Allah inshallah help us not to waste water, they are not acting according to my sunnah. وَالثَّابِتُ عَلَى سُنَّتِي مَعِي فِي حَظِيرَةِ الْقُدْسِ. But those who are consistent in practicing according to my sunnah, they would be with me in heaven. Of course, sometimes maybe, for example, water is not going to be wasted and can quickly be, recycled. That's then, if there is no waste at all, then might be okay. But if it is even, for example, taking water from river and wasting, few meters away, that's a problem. About controlling and regulating water supplies, look at this beautiful hadith. How much Islam, pays attention to every aspect of our life. And unlike what some people think, the more we move forward and the more we see problems happening, we appreciate these teachings of Islam even more. It's not that Islam is outdated. Actually, it seems that Islam is more appreciated today than before. Maybe people in the past were not able to appreciate as much as we can appreciate today. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to this hadith that Ad-Daylami mentions in his book Irshad al-Qulub, said, "Man radda adiyata ma'in aw adiyata narin falahu al-jannah." If there is water which has gone out of control, for example, sometimes rivers overflow. If you can manage this water and bring it back for future use, for preservation, or if fire breaks out and you extinguish fire, فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةُ أَلْبَتَتْ. Such person, if other things are okay, because of this he would be given heaven. Of course, I say other things being okay because you cannot do something good and then do lots of crime. But this act by itself is so much liked by Allah that if everything is neutral, with this you can qualify for going to heaven. But if you have lots of minus, no, that's different. Sometimes I use this example. Sometimes, for example, someone doesn't have house. And I say, how much is the value of house? He says, for example, I don't know. Suppose $50,000. Say, okay. If you do this, I give you $50,000 so that you can have a house. He does something, I give him $50,000, but still he doesn't have house. Why? Because he already was in debt. He had $50,000 debt, or $500,000 debt, or $1 million dollar debt. So he has been given what is enough to buy a house, but he's not going to have a house because he's already in minus. So if someone is not in minus, this is enough to qualify him for heaven, that he brings water back to its riverbed or to a place that can be controlled, making, for example, a dam, etc., that can keep water under good use and control. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is quoted as saying, "Man wajada ma'an wa turaban thumma iftaqarah fa'ab'adahu Allah." If a person, a family, a nation, they have water and soil and still they are poor, they have gone away from mercy of Allah, or mercy of Allah will go away from them. You have water, you have soil. These are great assets and great blessings. Why you remain in poverty? Why you don't utilize it? Why you don't, grow something? Then we have some headings here about water. For example, Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam emphasizes on using water for washing and cleaning ourselves. There is a hadith about using cold water, which can help us in avoiding some disease when someone is, cleaning after, having gone to, toilet. Using cold water is good. Of course, sometimes, people may have different medical situation, but cold water can prevent some types of disease. And also, there is a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam which says, "Al-ma'ul barid yudfi'ul hararah wa yusakkinu as-safra wa yudhibu at-ta'ama fil ma'idah wa yadhhabu bil humma." Cool water can cool down the heat, and also is good for certain things about digestion and fever, etc. But of course, when they say barid, in my understanding, barid in that time is different from here. Barid, cool, was, for example, maybe few degrees cooler than room temperature. But today, we have, these freezers, and, the water becomes, minus, for example, I don't know, 4 or 5, sometime, or, very cold. Too much difference from room temperature and body temperature. I don't think these hadiths apply to that. Barid is different from, like, thalj, like ice. Something, cold water, something that is cooler than room or than certainly your body temperature is good. But too much cold, freezing cold water, I'm not sure that would be included. On the other hand, we have also this hadith from Amir al-Mu'minin about boiled water. Al-ma'ul maghli yanfa'u min kulli shay wa la yadurru min shay. If water is boiled and then is now drinkable, not when it is still too hot, because it's not good to have hot. In our hadith, it's not good to have to drink hot water. But if it is boiled, so it's sterilized, and then if it is made cool, this is also good. Then there is a beautiful heading here that you might have heard, but I give you now 2 hadiths from this book about mental and psychological benefit of looking at water. Water is amazing. Not only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created life from water, جعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي. Anything which has life, anything which has physical life is from water. But also for our spirituality, we have wuzu, we have ghusl from water. Also for our mental and psychological health, water is very important. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, from both of them this has been narrated, that among the things that are good for your sight, for your vision, and here I think it's physical vision, but also maybe your psychology, one is an-nadharu ila al-khudra, to look at green. Thalathatun yajlin al-basar. There are 3 things that bring jala. They, brighten, they shine, make your, sight, bright. One is to look at khudra, look at greeneries. وَالنَّظَرُ إِلَى الْمَاءِ الْجَارِ, and also looking at water, current water, water which is flowing. وَالنَّظَرُ إِلَى الْوَجْهِ الْحَسَنِ, and looking at beautiful face. Of course, a beautiful face, which is face of a mu'min, or mu'mina for sisters, not mahram, not a stranger, na'uzu billah. So someone says, okay, I'll put a picture of a beautiful, for example, actor or actresses. No, means if there are, among mu'mineen, maharim, beautiful faces, or our own, family members, looking at them, and I think all mu'mineen have some kind of beauty also. So physical sight is something that has impact on our psychology as well. Unfortunately, nowadays we have for many people so much of industrialized environment, artificial environment. All the walls surrounding us, not that much greenery, not that much fresh air, not that much light, and only seeing cars and walls and traffic and smoke in some large cities, which is very much unhealthy, not only for body, even for our soul. We should go back to natural life as much as possible. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, أربع يضعن الوجه. There are three things that give ضوء. ضوء means light to face. النظر إلى الوجه الحسن, looking at a beautiful face. والنظر إلى الماء الجاري, looking at current water. والنظر إلى الخضرة, looking at greenery, like trees and flowers and plants and grass. والكحل عند النوم, and using kohl, or we say sorme, the black cosmetic, which is natural, before sleeping. That is also something useful for your eye. Water is another heading, is about water being the best drink. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is quoted as saying, Sayyidul ashraba fi dunya wal akhirah al-ma. Master of all the drinks in this world and the hereafter is water. Even if there is milk or juice or etc., they have water. Great part of them is water. We very much depend on water. Our life is from water, and our survival is from water. Our cleaning is from water. It's a great, great ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, water. If we don't have water for some time, then we appreciate. When Rasulullah was drinking water, he used to make this beautiful dua. Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yaj'alhu ujajan bidhunubina wa ja'alahu azban furatan bini'matih. All praise is due to Allah that didn't make water salty because of our sins. Indeed, because of His ni'mah, His blessings, He made it pleasant and sweet. Azban furatan bini'matih. So we have to be grateful for having access to pleasant and sweet water. In another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna awwala ma yus'alu anhu al-'abd yawm al-qiyamah min an-na'im." One of the very first blessings that we will be questioned about. La tus'alunna yawma idhan an an-na'im. We will be questioned about blessings of Allah. Some of these blessings are spiritual, like the ni'mah of guidance and ni'mah of leaders, imams, prophets, but part of it is also about physical blessings. So one of the physical blessings that we would be asked about in a very early stage is about water. إن أول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة من النعيم أن يقال له ألم نصح لك جسمك ونرويك من الماء البارد. Didn't we give you healthy body and good water, cool, pleasant water? Also, Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, about the ayah لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ, he said, الماء البارد في أيام الحر, in hot days to have, cool water. This is one of those blessings that Allah is referring to. لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Of course, we have also hadith that, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, نَحْنُ النَّعِيمِ. Imama is also ni'mah, that's a spiritual ni'mah. Then there are some headings here about necessity of avoiding pollution. We must not pollute water. Any water, especially water that people use for drinking, water that animals use especially, but any water, we should avoid pollution of water. Then there is a heading about not blocking water. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said one of the things that should not be blocked and denied is water. In another hadith, Rasulullah said, ثَلَاثَةٌ لَا يَنْظُرُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. There are three groups of people that Allah would not look at them with favor, with kindness on the day of judgment. One of them is a person, رَجُلٌ لَهُ مَاءٌ عَلَى ظَهْرِ الطَّرِيقِ يَمْنَعُهُ سَائِلَةَ الطَّرِيقِ. You have water near a passage, a road that people are, taking, and you don't give them water. If you are able to give water, access to water to people who pass by and they are thirsty, that's a great thing. If you can even, make some efforts to make water available for them. Alhamdulillah, we have had this tradition that, people on the streets, they make, water tanks or, water, for example, supplies throughout the year, especially in summer, they put, ice. People who have shop, they can do this, make something available. But if you have, for example, also, I don't know, gardens or something that, people who pass by, they become thirsty, you can, give them water. If it is applicable. Sometimes lifestyles have so much changed that either people don't need water, or even if you give them water, they don't drink, they don't use it. But still in some places, this is common, and as much as you are concerned, you should be happy to share water with the people who pass by and might be thirsty. Then there is a heading about reviving the dead land. We call in our fiqh a land which is not used and utilized for farming and agriculture, we call it mavat, from maut, like, dead. We have dead lands. And dead lands belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if someone revives them by using them for farming, etc., then he can own that land. Of course, Ayatollah Jawadi Amri says it needs permission from Imam, or in the time of Ghaibah, from someone who has authority, a faqih who is adil, who is just, who is muttaqi. But basically, Islamically, people are encouraged to use lands which are abundant and revive them, cultivate them, and make them a source of food and a source of products for humanity or for animals, etc. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam is quoted as saying, Sheikh Tusi in Tahdhib al-Ahkam mentions this hadith, Man ahya ardan min al-mu'minin fahiya la. If someone revives a land, it's for him. Of course, for details, you have to go to your marja. The next heading is about trees and planting trees. And this is a short section, and I want to maybe very quickly I can mention this inshallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam introduces planting trees as one of sadaqat jariyah, one of the things that can help you and benefit you even after you die. For example, the hadith says, سبع يجري للعبد أجرهن وهو في قبره بعد موته. There are 7 things, and these 7 are not by exhausting. There can be more. These are examples. There are 7 things that even if someone is buried would benefit from them. 1. من علم علما. If someone teaches people something useful, something beneficial, even if this person dies and people still are benefiting from his teachings, from his students, from his books, still he would benefit from. Number 2, أو أجرى نهرا. If someone can make a river, direct water to thirsty land, thirsty people. Or حفر بئرا, can dig a well. أو غرس نخلا, plant a date tree. Of course, any tree which is useful. These are examples. أو بنى مسجدا, build a mosque. أو ورث مصحفا, or make people inherit Quran. For example, I have Quran, then after me, my children, my friends, people, inherit from me, or I donate them Quran, I publish Quran and give people. Of course, people who are going to use it, not printing masses, mass copy, and then no one is used them. أو ترك ولدا يستغفر له بعد موته, or leaves behind a child who asks forgiveness on behalf of his father, mother from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, planting a date tree or any tree which is useful is one of sadaqat jariyah. It can remain for generations. Our hadith talks about giving water to thirsty trees. Some trees are mentioned like cedar as example, but any tree which is thirsty, and you give water, it has great reward. And also our tree condemns unnecessarily cutting trees, uprooting trees unnecessarily. Unless you want to plant another tree, or you want to improve the condition of the garden, for example, maybe. So at the service of greenery, at the service of the trees, it's okay to remove one tree and plant another, or create more space because they have grown. But just wasting and removing and raising trees, no. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a very a striking hadith that once maybe I told you that we had a discussion in Abrahamic group, and one of the rabbis said that they have also this in their sources similar to this. We have it from Rasulullah that إذا قامت الساعة وفي يد أحدكم الفصيلة فإن استطاع أن لا تقوم الساعة حتى يغرسها فليغرسها. If you have a sapling, a baby tree, a sapling, and the Qiyamah, resurrection is just going to start, if you have chance to plant this and then stand for resurrection, do it. There is no way to emphasize on the significance and urgency for planting trees more than this, that even if dunya is going to soon stop and turn into Qiyamah, still plant this sapling. If we had this approach, we could have, preserved and produced lots of greeneries. as good Muslims have always done. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam was carrying seeds of dates, and someone asked, Ya Abul Hasan, ma hadha ma'aka? Because people, used to throw them away or maybe not appreciating. So they asked, what are you carrying? He said, Nakhlun insha'Allah. These are all date trees. Potentially, they are date trees. Don't underestimate these seeds. If you grow them, they become date trees. فَلَمْ يُغَادِرْ مِنْهُ وَاحِدَةً. Amir al-Mu'minin planted all of these seeds, and even he didn't, miss one seed. One of the jobs of Amir al-Mu'minin in those 25 years after the Prophet, till he became Khalifa, was to dig wells, to make lots of gardens, plant lots of trees. Few things about benefits of planting trees. One is that it is very pleasant source of income. One of the best halal income is through planting trees and farming. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Izra'u waghrasu. Farm and plant trees. Fala wallah ma amila an-nasu amalan ahal wala atyab min. By Allah, no work is more pleasant and halal than farming and planting trees. Something very good for your body, for your soul, for humanity, for this generation, for future generations. All is good. This is Al-Kafi. The second thing, after being a very good source of income, is it's like a charity, act of charity, when you plant something and other people or even animals, birds, use it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ma min muslimin yaghrisu gharsan fayakulu minhu tayrun aw insanun aw bahimatun illa kana lahu bihi sadaqah. No Muslim plants a tree and a bird or a human being or an animal eats from that unless this is sadaqah. This is considered for you as sadaqah. Even after you die, this is sadaqah jariyah. Also, Rasulullah said, Man zara'a zar'an fa'akala minhu tayrun kana lahu sadaqah. If you, for example, grow wheat, barley, I don't know, some birds eat. It is sadaqah for you. I'm not saying, let them eat everything, but don't think if they eat, a few of your, corpse and products, it's wasted. They need also food, and, it's like a sadaqah for you. Number 3, you will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ما من رجل يغرس غرسا إلا كتب الله له من الأجر قدر ما يخرج من ثمر ذلك الغرس. Any plant that you tree, proportionate to the fruits of that tree, you will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also it is sadaqah jariyah, you will be rewarded afterwards, as we mentioned before, and Ayatollah Jawadi repeats again here. And of course he says, it's not only, for example, date tree. If the date tree is mentioned, any fruit trees, any tree that people benefit from, and you plant it for the good intention and other people benefit, it is sadaqah jariyah for you. And then finally, we are very much instructed and commanded to keep surrounding of the trees clean, especially fruit trees, not to make them dirty, or if someone needs for example to comfort himself, not to do it under trees, especially fruit trees. We have to be very careful. So we talked about water, we talked about soil, we talked about air a little bit. We talked about planting trees. Inshallah, in the next chapter, we will talk about green land and about, places that animals can be fed, and then about wind and about rain, and then about rivers and seas and oceans, and then about roads and transport, the roads for transport or for traveling, and then about fuel. We will talk about fuel, and then we will talk about tourism, inshallah. And these discussions will finish this section of the book, and then we would have only an appendix for the book. So maybe inshallah in the next 4 or 5 sessions we will finish the book, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all our ulama who have preserved for us these beautiful teachings of Islam, and may Allah inshallah help us to practice these things in our personal and also social life. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.